Fox News is working to independently confirm that report that the Inspector General did find evidence that former FBI Director James Comey was found to be insubordinate and went outside the chain of command. Based on our ongoing reporting, we understand one of the primary episodes the Inspector General was investigating was his decision in July of 2016. You see the event here, or you did just a moment ago, to publicly announce the findings of the FBI investigation that used the code acronym MYE, or mid-year exam, and that he was recommending against criminal charges. That's the key development there, because typically that decision would be under the purview of the Attorney General Loretta Lynch, but that was a responsibility that Director Comey took upon himself. Also, in a separate development, Fox News has obtained these congressional letters that show the former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe, who worked directly for James Comey, wants a special status if he testifies before the Senate Judiciary Committee later this month about that same Inspector General's report. This special status is called use immunity, and under those conditions, McCabe's testimony cannot be used against him in a criminal prosecution. That matters because the Inspector General found that McCabe lied under oath, and there was a criminal referral to the U.S. Attorney here in Washington, D.C. for potential violations of 18 U.S.C. 1001. That's lying to federal investigators. This morning, a senior Senate Republican who sits on the Judiciary Committee recommended against a deal to secure McCabe's testimony.
We really need to get to the bottom of what happened at the FBI during the Comey years, where apparently there was misconduct going on, which I think has really impugned the reputation of the finest law enforcement agency in the world. And we need to clear the air. And so I think giving Mr. McCabe cover through immunity would be a mistake.
McCabe's lawyer said in a quote, McCabe is willing to testify, but because of the criminal referral, he must be afforded suitable legal protection, adding that if he were unable to get such a deal, McCabe will have no choice but to invoke his Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination. Based on the timing, this continues to be a very fluid situation. As you know, Harris, there is a date on the calendar for Monday next week for open public testimony in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee. That's the lead committee for the Inspector General's report. But based on what we've learned in the last 24 hours, it does appear that that date is likely to slip yet again, Harris.
Well, and we've seen some delays, Catherine, and lawmakers that I've been talking with have said, you know, they want a chance for that report to come out, obviously, before they would hold that hearing. So they'll just have to wait until that happens.
If I can just add one thing.
Sure.
Based on what we know, it's a very lengthy report, somewhere in the neighborhood of 500 pages, and people who sit on the Senate Judiciary Committee feel they need at least a couple of days to adequately comb through the report so they can ask the right questions for the Inspector General Horowitz, and he can appropriately defend his findings here.
Sure, interesting.
Yeah.
500 pages, depending on how much of it leaks. Because right now we're looking at the leaks.
And just if I could say one other thing on that, I think that's pretty significant because we're in a phase right now where the principals who cooperated are allowed to review the findings and then make their case or their best argument against what the conclusions are. I think one of the key things is that we haven't had a lot of leaks about the findings, and the parties who would have that information may feel that it's pretty damaging, and they're trying to, you know, shape the outcome to the extent they can with their version of what happened.
Jennifer, it's great to see you. I know this must have been
great to be with you.
It must have been wild for you to watch this over the last few days all over again. Just your initial reaction to watching him. He clearly got the body language. He had the arms crossed. He was
right.
It was very angry that this reporter asked him kind of some fairly logical questions. I would imagine.
Right. Right. Well, my first impression was he's just not as good a liar anymore as he used to be. He's not on his game where that's concerned. You know, I think Bill is afraid. You know, I'm advocating that Bill be prosecuted for his sex crimes, just like Harvey Weinstein has been arrested and Bill Cosby is about to be sentenced. Why not Bill Clinton? He's nervous. That's why he's acting that way. And, you know, probably has some health problems, and it's affected his ability to respond as well as he used to be and tell lies as good as he used to.
Well, you were a young woman, 27 years old, when you first got involved with him. You know, he was married
Right.
and you were not, and you started having this relationship. At some point, you've now decided that it became a non-consensual harassment relationship, which doesn't really comport with what how you originally classified this. So now, how are you all these years later claiming that it was non-consensual at some point?
It's very interesting because back in 1977, when I met Bill, we didn't have the laws to protect us. We as women, I was in the workplace in a man's world. I just had to do the best that I could. When I first met Bill Clinton, it was when I was sent out on my first story by myself after my training with my cameraman. He came on to me that night. I told him to knock it off. He proceeded to continue to come on to me for 3 months before I decided that I wanted to have a relationship with him, which at that point was consensual. But in today's standards, and in hindsight, it was definitely sexual harassment. I was a little bit ashamed to admit that because, in a way, I mean, I felt guilty because I was a willing participant at a point. So I felt guilty about saying that I was sexually harassed in the beginning, but I definitely was. Absolutely.
When you say you want him prosecuted, hold on. When you say you want him prosecuted, Jennifer,
why not?
Not for what? Because with sexual harassment, that's a civil case. But for a criminal prosecution, you're referring to Juanita Broderick, obviously?
Absolutely, Juanita. He raped Juanita. I've met Juanita. She is a beautiful person. Like Hillary, I wanted to be in denial. I wanted to deny that these things could happen because I felt like that wasn't the person that I had known. But when I met her the first time and realized that she was a very genuine person and had no reason to lie about that, I had to come to terms with the fact that he was very capable and did do that. Why shouldn't he be prosecuted for rape as Bill Cosby has, and Harvey Weinstein was just arrested? Why shouldn't he be? Why don't they arrest Hillary as a co-conspirator? Because she has allowed him. She has been the person that has let him go, and the enabler that has let him go and do what he's done to women.
By the way, we reached out to the Clinton Foundation, to Bill Clinton's personal attorney, David Kendall, about this story and about your new allegations, and we did not get a response. So we did attempt to do that.
Of course not.
Bill Clinton said this. I want to play a little snippet from Bill Clinton. This was also from this New York event last night. Let's watch.
Okay.
I support the Me Too movement, and I think it's long overdue. And I have always tried to support it in the decisions and policies that I've advanced.
He says he genuinely supports the Me Too. He supports the Me Too movement, Jennifer, and he wants people to believe him at this point.
Now that's the fourth biggest lie, and that's the fourth biggest lie. And you know some of what the others are. He would say that, of course. What would he say but that he is in support of it? He's been a huge abuser of the Me Too movement. And I would like for the Me Too movement to be so kind as to recognize myself and Paula and Juanita and Kathleen and many, many other women starting many years ago that have come out with claims of sexual harassment from Bill Clinton. They haven't given us any respect as far as I'm concerned. We're the Me Not movement. That's what we are.
Why do you think they haven't?
It just seems like that the Clintons are bulletproof, that it doesn't matter what they do, they seem to get away with things, and this would be another instance of that. He hasn't been held accountable. And
how are you doing in your life?
I don't know. That's a good question. Why? Why we've
I think
been
it's
so
political. A
ignored.
lot of people
I'd
think
like to know
the
the
Me Too
answer to
movement.
that.
Yeah, I think the Me Too movement there's a lot of good stuff going on, but sadly, a lot of it is politicized.
I agree.
A lot of it is politicized, and
Very
so people
much
like
so.
Juanita Broderick, they don't count. People like Kathleen Willey, they don't count. How are you doing, by the way? We're out of time, but how are you doing? And after all these years, you look great, by the way. But how are you doing?
Thank you. God bless you. Oh, and I love you, by the way. I'm a big fan. I'm doing fine. Getting ready to do a little reboot of my book, and I lost my mother in July of last year, so that's been a huge thing to overcome. But I'm doing good, and thank you for asking. I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, Jennifer. We really appreciate your perspective, and and then the Clintons, they never do seem to go away, and we appreciate it.